Welcome to kathysright.com, your pit stop for conservative mind, heart, and soul. America, the land of the free and the home of the brave. Sort of free and sort of brave because basically, people, every day I wake up, something is canceled. Dr. Seuss, Mr. Potato Head, Cardi B. Well, no, not Cardi B, although she is the one that probably should be canceled. But what they're doing to us, the media and the left, one and the same, is they're trying to silence us. They are trying to muzzle us, literally, with those masks. They want to muzzle us and silence us and make us fearful of speaking out, make us fearful of them, make us fearful of being canceled. And in some people's cases, that cancellation might be a job. Look at Megyn Kelly. Look at Sharon Osbourne. Sharon Osbourne was merely defending her friend, and all her friend Piers Morgan said was that he didn't believe anything that Meghan Markle, or whatever her name is, Markle, he didn't believe anything she said. Now, if she's had a history of lying, I don't know. But he's entitled to have an opinion. He's entitled to be able to state his opinion. But because of the color of his skin and her skin, all of a sudden, of course, the big R, racist, comes to mind. Nothing could be further from the truth, because in fact, he's already admitted that he used to date Meghan Markle. So if he dated her, how could he be racist? Honestly. So while I'm about to get whiplash from watching Joe Biden run this country into the ground, and whiplash from every single day I wake up, something else is canceled. Dr. Seuss, my goodness, my favorite books were Dr. Seuss books. My kids learned to read on Dr. Seuss books, but it's been canceled. Now they're going to have disclaimers on Gone with the Wind. What the heck? America has lost her mind. All hope is not lost, though. I came across this fantastic video, and I just got lucky, and I couldn't believe my ears and my eyes. Made by a young conservative, up and coming, Tim Colomba. So I watched the video, I reached out, and he responded. And I'm really happy he did, because we had a great talk. But before we sit down and talk with Tim Colomba, take a listen to the video.
Remember when Hollywood was great? Remember when comedy was funny? Remember when our culture made sense? What happened? Our gatekeepers have devolved. But it's not enough to flood our screens with blood, sex, and drugs. Only one reality is allowed, theirs, because you just don't know any better, do you? Oh, you want to live in their world? Well, you better bend the knee and toe the line. And hey, don't you dare think different, or else you're racist, you're stupid, and canceled. You know what, gatekeepers? You're tired. Your dick jokes are tired, your sermons are tired, your pandering's tired, your wokeness is tired, your gaslighting's tired, your elitism's tired. Everyone thinks you're annoying, and frankly, you're hard to watch. You're not our betters, you're just projecting, but go ahead, keep patting yourselves on the back. If you're sick of wokeness and cancel culture, this is your call to action. You're smart, you're funny, you're creative. So what are you waiting for? We've got style, we've got stories, we've got talent and athletes. We have beautiful voices and epic music. We got women and men who kick ass. To the musicians, designers, filmmakers, writers, artists, comedians, and actors, models, photographers, bloggers, and gamers, journalists, chefs, and teachers, let's go. It's time to challenge the thought police. Let's end their reign of fear. Instead of waiting by their old grimy gate, let's join forces and build something new. Look at the potential of just one creative mind. What institutions could we establish if we looked at our own hands and put our minds together? Unlike woke ideology, we believe everyone's free to succeed. No matter how you look, no matter where you're from, your only limit is fear. So gatekeepers, you want to set up polite society? Fine. It wasn't very fun here anyway. But just know this, we're removing your little cult from our culture. The culture is ours to define. They can't cancel us all. You want to keep your freedom of creativity? Look at what's inside your hands. Pick up your talents and put them to use. Whether you're a creative or a curator of culture, let's connect, let's build, let's get to work.
There. Okay. Freedom of creativity. I think I'm okay. I think I'm good to go.
All right, I'm ready when you are.
Okay, well, I wanted to have you on the show, on my podcast, because you were talking about cancel culture.
Hmm.
Now, I've been canceled a few times. Let's just say Facebook.
Yeah.
They hate me. So it's okay. I think I have my own personal fact checker. I'm
Oh,
special.
really? Well, look
Yes,
at
I'm pretty sure.
that. You've made it. You've
Full
made
time.
it.
All the best people get in Facebook jail.
Yeah.
So tell me more about the freedom of creativity. I saw your video. I thought it was awesome. I hope you let me play a part of it on my show.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so, I gotta be honest, I just made the video sort of as like a vent. I was just I always hear like people like Dinesh D'Souza or all sorts of people kind of on the right who talk about, hey, we need to build our own culture, we need to um get into creating entertainment and things like that. And I've always wanted to. I'm a videographer, photographer by trade. I've been doing it for like 12 years freelance. And I do like corporate videos and things like that. I like doing it, but my heart's always been in kind of making entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always kind of stopped myself from going in that direction, like going to LA and getting into movies, or joining as a PA and moving up the ranks. I always kind of stopped myself from doing that because I just thought, like, they're all gonna hate me. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
Yeah, like, what's the point? You know what I mean? And I've always just thought, you know what? Like, I'm gonna do it on my own. Like, I want to do it on my own. Now, I never really had a plan. I got to be honest with you, but I made that video as a vent, just kind of thinking about, I was in my car one day, I put this old song I made on, and I was just kind of listening to it. And then I started thinking, like, like, aren't you sick of it? I just came up with this funny little, and that's just me talking there on the thing to the song.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, I don't know, I made that video, and, I was a big fan of the Dinesh D'Souza show. And so I was listening, and he said, hey, write in your questions. And so I sent him that video, and I said, hey, what should creative conservatives do? Like, what do you think's the next step? You always say, we need to build our own culture. How do we do it?
Right.
And as I asked him the question, like, the answer seemed to be revealed to me, which was like, there needs to be a place for people to go to, like, interact, to collaborate, to start, meeting one another. I mean, you're in Texas, right? And I'm in Massachusetts. Like, why not connect, like, this day and age? Why not connect and start creating things together? So that's kind of the birth of it. And then
That's awesome.
They invited me on the show. So in a week, I was like, oh, shoot. And so I made a website so at least people like you could reach out to me. And, here we are.
That's great. I think that what's going on right now with the cancel culture, I think what I kind of interpreted the video to talk about is like networking, kind of, for people who are not the woke, woke left. And I think that the woke left, they're really comatose. They're really not woke about anything. I mean, they're spiritually comatose for sure.
Yeah.
But having myself been an artist and of color, of whatever pigment they decide is cool this week, but I've experienced some weird stuff as a creative. I'm a painter as well, and I've been at a gallery, had my stuff in the galleries and stuff, and I'll be there, and people will say the strangest things to me, as though it's just totally cool and fine, and I should be okay. For instance,
I'm wondering.
I'm looking at my work, right? And they're going, you know what? You should try to do more Black art. I'm like, well, I'm Black. Are my mountains not ethnic enough for you? My skies. I mean, do they have to have an afro or something?
Right.
I don't know. But I just thought, well, and then I wasn't sure what that meant. So I'm at Ross at the store, and I'm looking at all that cheap art, that they have there. And I see all this African art, where they have the elephants and the women carrying stuff on their heads. And I'm like, oh, that's what they think I'm supposed to be painting.
That's wild. Yeah.
Isn't that terrible? I'm like, oh, so in order for me to be accepted as an artist, I have to do something ethnic and woke. I can't just do a mountain.
And that's
Everybody else
not
can do it.
really, even like when we first talked, I said like, oh, where are you from? Like you weren't, like my brother-in-law is African. He's like from Nigeria. So it's like
Uh-huh.
he would say he would say I'm from Nigeria. Whereas like,
Right.
and I say, oh, my whole family's Italian. It's like you said Louisiana. So why
Yeah.
what does that what does like that art have anything to do with you really? It's not,
Right.
you almost get roped into this whole like culture that you just might be independent from. Why
You
like
just want to you just want to paint an apple. Does it
yeah.
have to say something?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
I've seen people post pictures of their Christmas tree, and this, I think it was Laura Bush. Anyway, she had an owl on her tree, and she made
Hmm.
some joke like, "Look uh, who's making a joke." And oh
Yeah.
my gosh, on social media, all you would see was people go, "Oh, the owl represents the pagan god so and so," and it really means. I'm like, can it just be an owl?
Everyone's gotta relax. Let's just relax.
Do you see that too?
Yeah, yeah. It's that's wild. That's intense.
Yeah, but
Uh,
that's what the world is coming to, and we've got to stop. We've got to
yeah.
get off that merry-go-round. It's not going anywhere.
And you mentioned so you've been like banned from Facebook and stuff a few times,
Oh,
and
yes. My friend
yeah,
Felicity just got out of Facebook jail. We make jokes, We we make jokes. We use Facebook. We don't let them use us.
yeah.
But
You're right.
exactly, they think they're the boss or something. They're crazy. They're probably 12 years old. Whoever's doing this, and I don't care. I mean, I have other avenues. I don't live and breathe just for one media source
Right,
because I do a lot of things, but most artists do most things. I mean, you do videography and photography,
right.
right?
Yeah, so do video photography. Like I wrote a book. I wrote like a book. I wrote a novel,
Mm-hmm.
and originally I wanted to make it into. Originally it was like a TV script, and then I just realized, TV scripts are kind of hard to write because you really have to show, not tell. You know what I mean? And you don't want it to be like a Hallmark movie where they like drop all the background information. I had all this background information I really loved and that was beautiful that I wanted to add. So I ended up writing like a novel,
Mm-hmm.
and this kind of also plays into sort of my reasoning for going down this route is I started to look for a book agent,
Mm-hmm.
and when you do that, they say you go on Twitter and you look up manuscript wish list.
Right.
So agents will say, hey, these are the kind of books I want to read, and I was finding that the books, a lot of them were like young women, which no problem. Like I actually think the book would appeal to young women,
Mm-hmm.
but they were asking for, I want like a person of color with we voices, and there was just all this stuff. I want, to there to be LBGTQ characters, and look, I have no issue with that, but it's like, there's a lot of just regular like white dudes like me and like just regular like just people who don't even care about any of that. Like
Right.
I'll read a book. One of the first book I ever read was about like a black guy in DC, like getting out of the ghetto, and it was like amazing book. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I really related to it. That it was a beautiful book. It's like you don't have to. So anyway, I just thought, man, I'm never gonna find a book agent, and it's a great book, and
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, oh man, what this stinks. Like I don't know, I'm gonna be writing these little queries, like kissing up to these girls who hate my guts,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just gonna go nowhere, So I could self-publish, but then what? Amazon's just gonna dump me one day. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
So
probably just for being conservative and actually having an original thought, which is kind of nice, to see original thoughts because
right.
everything's so done and over and over. This is like, uh, I think it's super important that we find our tribe, so to speak, because everything's so tribalistic now.
Mm,
You're on the left or you're on the right or you're black and you're white. And I'm so sick of that one because that's the one that they're beating like a dead horse. I mean, it's like
yeah.
everything has to do with the race. And
It's
you
sad.
can't get away from it. I
Yeah.
mean, my husband is Caucasian, just
Mm-hmm.
a regular white guy. And we do
Mm-hmm.
not wake up and think about race all day. We
Yeah.
don't, Is
I
who's
mean, how
gonna.
much energy, like how much energy are we burning and
We
you
would be
know?
so canceled because of the jokes that we make to each other,
Right.
racial jokes. I mean, racial. I make fun of him. He makes fun of me, and we have a good laugh. But
Yeah.
if we got recorded, oh my gosh, we'd probably they would have thrown us to the wolves by now.
You know, it's something my wife always says. It's like it's so funny how like there's so many people she knows and I know and everyone knows. Like you know that everyone you've ever crossed with has said something really disgusting and stupid and
Oh, yeah.
awful. Everyone, all of us. You know, it goes back to the principle of like, you know, those who haven't sinned throw the first stone. It's like there's no one's free of stupidity. Like it's just the way
Right.
we are, you know what I mean? Or in just like jokes that are like, okay, a little edgy, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like, you know, so it's like at this point, it's like, okay, let's just all relax. Like, let's stop doing all this. And you know, look, if you're a racist, you know, I flip my birds to you. Like, you're an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
everyone thinks you're an idiot. I feel like that's it. And I wish we could move on past it. Um, I understand if some people are struggling to like, because this is really the challenge with, I think, you know, sort of the right versus the left is like the left really like they're based, a lot of these people, there's nothing wrong with them. They're just based on they want like goodness and happiness. They want the best for people. It's just that they're being trained to do it with really intense, like crazy means. You know what I
Well,
mean?
they're obsessed. It's an obsession. It's like a religion almost, and they're all religious fanatics. And it's real. I if people don't see my picture or something like that, I've been called racist, like
Yeah.
against black people. I'm black, but to me, it's just weird. It's just so weird because you're expected to think only one way.
Yeah.
And
That's
and
true.
this whole world is just full of people with a whole bunch of different ideas, and it's exciting. I think
It
that
is.
everybody should be different races. I think it makes the world a beautiful place. As an artist, I see, I mean, my family alone, we go all the way from the darkest of black, almost blue, to to whiter than white, and it's
Yeah.
just, and we're all in the same family and we love each other. So I don't see why we can't just go with that. I mean,
Yeah, it's like it really doesn't make it. You know, it's something too. I realized that like growing up, going to church too. It's like I've always been around different people. Like when I was young, like I met a woman from Zimbabwe. I had never met anyone from Africa. You know what I mean? Just
mhm,
I grew up in like Newton, Massachusetts. Like a very like it's like your standard like you know rich liberal town, right? And
right.
this beautiful woman from Zimbabwe was at church, and like I just loved her. And then we always, you know, I was in the church band, and there was a lot of people from who came from Indonesia to study music at Berkeley. So we like, you know,
Mm.
they would take us late at night to Chinatown to try all like the crazy food over there, and it's just so cool how it's just weird to me because like I grew up like knowing different cultures and
So did I.
yeah, and you go through the like sort of like you know I get it. You grow up and you start to think you know you like it's just nature. Like you compare like oh like these Indonesians are like funny with this and that or this and like they're probably thinking the same thing about me
Oh yeah.
and then at one point you know you joke about it and that's it and then you realize
And
wow
that's
these are
okay
beautiful
though.
people.
It
Yeah,
should be okay. It should
absolutely.
be okay. You know, one thing I love about the Hispanic culture, at least my friends, is that they openly make fun and make light of whatever is different about you. Like if if your eyes were slightly small, you might get called chino.
Oh,
That's really, and like I'm a Eucharistic minister at my church, and I used to bring communion to people when they were sick. And there was like me, and then there was this Mexican lady, but she was really strict, and she would ask people like where they stand with the church, and I don't do all that. I just
right.
go,
Yeah.
and so. And they would call the church for communion because somebody was sick in their family. I said, but we want La Negra, me. They wanted me because they didn't want to go through her because she was going to ask them if they went to confession and stuff. I'm like, it was so funny. But that was I'm La Negra to them.
Yeah.
But if you translated that into English and somebody said, "Oh, I want the black woman,"
Yeah.
Or so all of a sudden people are like having a fit.
And it's just like, oh, it's just a descriptor. It's not, it doesn't mean anything. And we have to like, and I think that's sort of the idea. Is like I realize that there's all this air being blown into, so even think of like the conservative media, radio, all these radio shows. Look, first of all, we have that covered. I don't think we need any more, like, in terms of not radio shows like this, but more like radio shows where it's like the news and we're hearing how awful Democrats are and we're hearing how awful the media is. Like, there's enough of that and we have it covered, and there's a lot of great talented people like that.
Right.
What happens is we're blowing air into this, like into their culture. We're esteeming it. And I see it as like, what if we just like turned away? What if we just turned away and we just like, we're like, you know what? Go ahead, do that. You want to go do that? Go ahead. You want to be upset because someone said, hey, I want the black lady to come do the Eucharist. Yeah. Then like go be upset. But we're just gonna go over here and we're all just gonna work together. We're gonna have a good time, and you're welcome to join. Just leave that over there and we're gonna have a good time over here.
Right.
And the way to do that is like, and so you mentioned that you were put in Facebook jail a whole bunch. I got to admit, I've never been in Facebook jail. I'm actually pretty quiet, believe it or not. I know I'm even shouting probably right now, but I'm actually really quiet online in terms of politics. I'll like stuff. I rarely post anything. I've never been in Facebook jail. And even with this situation, so with this kind of opportunity going to Nestor or so, I thought, and even your show, like I would have never posted this conversation or shared it. I would have been terrified. And something kind of occurred to me is like, why are we so afraid? We're so afraid. And so because we're so afraid, we're all getting walked on. And this is why we're like not doing anything,
Right. We're getting walked on, all right. But I think that where that fear comes from, it's kind of a healthy fear, but it's also a survivor mechanism, if you will, because if you are, like I was looking at some notes that I wrote about topics that came up yesterday. And when I watched, I was thinking, oh, should I talk about that? Should I not? Why are we fearful? Because we've been conditioned to be fearful. They've been training us for years through our school systems, through everything, college, definitely. Sure. I lived in California. I was mum. I mean, darn if I say what I really think about anything. But I think that fear, and they're doing it worse to the young kids now. It's much worse. Can you imagine applying for a job 10 years from now and you were on social media today? This is like their resume. Everything you put online is your resume now.
It's true. I'm just so grateful that I'm 33, so I really guess came into adulthood with it, but I don't have any wild photos. I mean, if you do, whatever, but if I do, whatever, but I know you got to think about all these kids, they have a record from when they were young.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
It'll come back to bite them unless we change things, unless we start doing what you're doing.
And you have to think, I do feel that this might be at least this general idea. If we can now pump air into something positive, we can show that okay, this can bridge the divide. I think because there's a lot of I'm in Massachusetts. There's tons of liberals around. Ironically, I feel in my network there's almost it's almost everyone I know is a conservative, which is so funny to me. But
that's nice.
Well, and I don't, it's not like I block off any liberal people. I have not, I've grown up with them. It's I love these people. But it's funny because one thing that my liberal friends and I agree on is that this cancel culture, this kind of everyone looking for the sins of the past and all that, everyone is sick of it. Everyone's tired of it being preached to by celebrities. We're all tired of it. And I think that's the bridge we can, that's really a bridge that we can build, I think. And so freedom of creativity. So I'm building a platform. It's not up yet and it's coming. So I'm building, essentially it's going to be a directory where, so creatives like you and I can post, we can kind of create a profile. we can post essentially like a classifieds, kind of sharing our work, sharing our skills. We can post jobs. So I'd like to do something where, for example, I have this book, and so I was thinking, a cool way to market it could be to film a few episodes as if like it's a show, just to kind of pitch it and have people interested, and then they read the book to finish it,
Yeah.
But because it's something I could do for cheap. So I'd love to meet actors and actresses who I also want to, boost up their career, who they can work with me, and we all work together, and I could use a sound guy. I'd love to find a sound guy who could, do sound better than I can. And we could, we all work on this project together, and then at least we get to use it for our own portfolios, or, it's a joint progress. If we make any money from it, maybe we split it. I don't really know how that's going to happen, but, it's a way for people to post like project ideas, and those who are interested can tag on, they can audition, they can be a part of it. And, that's it. We're going to start getting things going. It's like enough is enough already. Even if it's like at a budget level, I have to tell you, production value has never been cheaper. You know what I mean? Like it's never been cheaper I just bought a cinema camera, and, it's like the lowest price cinema camera, but it was, it's like Netflix like Netflix allows it. You can film a Netflix show with it. You know what I mean? And there's even cheaper versions, so it's really accessible now. And there's nothing stopping us. I don't know. I think fear is really what's keeping people back. And so if we all get together and we just say, let's work together. We're not going to be afraid of losing our job. We're not going to be afraid of being, ousted or whatever. Like I don't care what your ideology is, as long as you're down to work hard and create something great. Let's create something great. And so that's the goal. I don't know when it's going to launch, maybe like a week or two.
Okay.
Every time I get, I'm working late into the night to kind of build it and stuff, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be really, I'm wicked excited for where it's going to go.
I think you're onto something, Tim.
Oh, thanks.
I do, because I really feel that the time has come for this, and that's what I got from your video as well. The time has come.
Yeah.
And I think that also, like for instance, I need a producer, but I can't afford to pay anybody just yet. But I need a producer or someone to help me. Like I would like to do a call-in show,
right?
But I can't filter calls out as I'm doing a program.
Yeah, like how, and even learning to set that up, it's like.
Exactly. But there's people who do know how to do it.
Right.
When I was younger, I was a film student. And so I remember learning how to do the editing and things. And now I get back into this, and all of a sudden it's all computerized.
Oh yeah.
When I was
you
doing
learned film editing.
there's no splicing.
Right.
When I was there, it was like big wires. You had to drag everywhere and plug up and worry about things. We had to have the air conditioner on super cold so that the equipment wouldn't melt. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah.
That's how old it was. And so now it's all computerized, and I'm learning. We're all learning. But right. I'm sure there's a young person, like my kids, when they come over and they figure something out, I didn't even know how to use the right button on my mouse before.
Right.
Not until like 2 years ago, my daughter finally told me, and I was afraid to push it.
Yeah, if you don't know, like, it's true. It's like if you just don't know, like, how are you gonna know? And
yeah, but the young people now, they all know, and things that took me an hour to figure out, my daughter will come over and just, I'm like, how did that happen? What just happened? I don't even know. But that kind of thing that young people have, I think that you guys could benefit from some of us older people and our wisdom.
Exactly. And that's also another great thing about at least sort of the conservative mindset, or, is that we're respecter of all ages, of all points of view, of all I think we really appreciate like what we can gain from, we understand that like we don't know anything. Yeah. Like, something, I really do understand it, and it took me years to learn, but I'm an idiot. And like, I'm an idiot until I say, you know what, I need to learn it. I need to like, we all make mistakes. You're learning. I think that's something that young people don't learn. And I think what's good about the conservative kind of ideology is we're sort of like brought up to realize, like, okay, you're going to make mistakes. The rules are in place for a reason, but like, as long as you work hard, as long as you're diligent, you'll get things going. It's so funny to me that with that sort of mindset generally, that we haven't gotten into the culture at all. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's sort of weird. Like I think people think that conservatives are we just like read books and do like math or something. I don't know. Like,
well, they think
we're funny,
I think they think we're staunch and stiff and
religious, like very religious.
Yeah, like being religious, it doesn't mean you're all of a sudden boring or something. For instance, I like to drive a fast car. I like to drive. I have a little black Camaro, which I just love my car. And I was going to visit a friend for the first time that I met at church, and she was expecting me. She's a little bit younger than me. Anyways, I was going over to her house, and I couldn't figure out which house was her house because the mailbox wasn't in front of the house. So I was going back and forth, and of course I got my music on, and I crank up my music pretty loud until the mirror's shaking. And the mirror's shaking, that's when it's good.
That's
anyways,
the right line.
She saw me when I finally found her place, and she goes, "Wow, I saw that car with all that loud music," and I was thinking, no, that can't be that church lady. I'm like, are you kidding me? I played in a reggae band. You kidding me? It's like they think we're one thing. They presume too much. There's too much presumption and too much fear. And that's one thing that I'm learning from also with my art, because I look at my old art and all I see is fear and hesitation. And I can see it. And so I just redid one of my old pieces, and I said, okay, I'm going to get rid of the fear part. What am I afraid of color for? What am I afraid of? I was controlling my art with my fear. And I could see it so plainly. Yeah. And it was pretty. Have you ever read a book called The Artist's Way?
No.
Oh, I just finished it. I just finished it. It's by Julia Carroll. This is my second time reading it. The first time I didn't get it, but this time, oh my gosh, it opened up everything. And like now there's so much color in my paintings and so much freedom in my work. And it's better. It's like my friend Dwayne came over. He's an artist. He looked at it. He goes, "You just got so much better. What did you do?" And I said, "Well,
there's passion in that. And it's you. It's actually you.
Exactly. You'd be like, just get rid of that freedom, because not freedom. Get rid of that fear." Right. And that fear holds you back. And that's what they mean to do by making us fearful of saying what we really think. And so lucky for me, I'm old and I'm retired. So I don't really have a dog in the fight. I really don't. I'm kind of, if I mess up, if I say something that they don't like, I don't care because I don't have a job with them. They can't fire me. You know what I mean? We're on a fixed income. We're retired. We golf. That's what we do.
and that's like, that's why, and people need to really like light a fire on their ass and see that, like,
yes,
this is it. Like it's one or the other. Like you have to really realize, if you want to play in their game, you want to play their game, you want to play in their world, go ahead. And that's fine. But what's going to happen is one day you're going to have to decide, are you for them or are you not? Like, are you going to be there? Are you going to like do what they say, do what they want you to do, or not? And if you don't, you're going to, everything you earned, everything you worked for, gone. And that's so, and like, I'm not even going to attempt to go there. Mm-hmm. That's it. There's no other way. There's no other way. And like, I really, that's what kind of occurred to me. And it was interesting when you say no fear. It's like, I made that video, like, honestly terrified, because I'm very shy about, I actually don't talk, I talk about my politics with people I know, mm-hmm. and like but I'm not, I've never been a good like debater. I've never been one to like, I don't really like to fight people.
You don't like confrontation?
Yeah, like I love screaming and yelling, but that's just being Italian, like, that's how we talk. But yeah, I don't like to be confrontational, but I realize it's like, something, this fear, it's like I'm doing it to myself. I'm just smothering my own like words, my own passion, my own, and I'm trying to like tailor my artwork and my career towards some ideology that hates my guts.
Right.
And so I think that like people need to realize, if you want to excel, if you want to be like a captain of a certain industry, if you want to be, and like, look, I'm not speaking as a captain of that industry. I'm realizing like I have a lot of work to do and a lot of building to do. I understand it doesn't just fall in your lap, and it's tough. Like I'm building a website. I just learned like coding, like some stuff on coding. Like now I'm starting to understand coding, and I learned it. It was like Saturday morning. I was like, Yahtzee! Like I was just wicked. I was just so excited to kind of discover this new language. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's funny because once I conquered it, I thought, who are these Facebook like jerks thinking they're walking all over? Like this isn't that. I mean, obviously it's more complicated what they do, but it's not that crazy. Like, okay, you're not that much smarter than me. Okay, enough of that. So once you conquer something, it's a positive feedback loop. Like you conquer it, and then you like see the results from it. Then you can conquer more, and you see the results, and it snowballs, and you can build, and then when you get resistance, and you say and you stand up to it, and you're fearless to resistance, you get even more immunity. You know what I mean? It's true in biology, and it's true in like mentality and creativity. And so and what you say there, that's really cool with your artwork. I'd love to see like the before and after, where it's like fear, no fear. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
It's
Yeah.
like night and day. It's like night and day. And for another artist that I respect to have noticed it so quickly, he said, "You just got so much better." I go, "No, it's just I set myself free."
It was
That's it.
always there. It was
It was
always there.
always, but I smothered it because of acceptance. I wanted the acceptance. I think, that's part of your your artistic growth, is
Yeah.
that you have to recognize that. And when you don't even recognize it in yourself, you're being stifling. You're stifling yourself from the possibility of doing something really great. Because I mean, God's generosity is infinite,
Yeah,
and
that's wild.
there's not some finite amount of talent in the world.
Exactly.
It's infinite. So
And your
you
talent doesn't take away my talent. It's
exactly,
just exponential.
we
Yeah.
can put them together and they can explode.
Exactly.
So that's where I'm going, and I really hope you do well with your website, and I'm
Thank
going
you.
to be a part of it. Maybe
Oh,
I'll find a
please. Yeah.
producer. Maybe I'll find somebody.
Well, that's what I'm hoping. So I think the main challenge or building block is going to be getting the word out, getting people to join. So I was able to buy add-ons where people will be able to like comment on things and post. It'll almost work like a social media. I don't really
Great.
want to replace social media. I don't care like to be a social media site. It's more, I do want the focus to be there to share, to collaborate, I mean, you can sell artwork on there. I think there's ways to do that. Again, I'm still kind of, but so it'll be a place where even if you're a business, if you're a plumber, honestly, if you're a plumber who just like, you're sick of cancellation, you're into all this, like you join, because the people who, maybe someone's going to look for a plumber, they're going to say, hey, you know what? I'm in Boston. I'd love to support a plumber who believes in my values, who shares my values.
Yes.
The rising tide raises all ships. Like, let's, cross promote one another. We're all going to rise together. And then what happens is, then we all get confidence. We don't have to play in their little world. Like, we don't have to do that.
Well, exactly. Some of my favorite people that I've gotten to know the last few years, we don't go all to the same church. We don't have the exact same beliefs. We don't all dress alike or look
Right.
alike, but we're helping each other.
Exactly.
I wouldn't be doing this right now were it not for Felicity Joy, who taught me how to do this. And it's just it's mind-blowing to me because they're so helpful to one another. Her success doesn't take away anything from me. I promote her stuff on my show, and I don't get anything out of it, but I really like what she stands for.
Right.
And so I really think that's where what I'm finding is so wonderful about being a conservative is that people are helping each other. People are helping me. I'm helping people if I can. But I think that's where we're going. I think that's where we're headed. I think that's what makes the left very nervous.
Yeah, and it's like one thing I think Dinesh D'Souza always says that really resonates with me is he goes like their biggest fear is for us to point out that they're frauds, and I find that I remember one thing that happened to me when I was younger in high school. I was applying to go, and this is a funny way of how God works. I was applying to go to colleges, and I always wanted to be like a filmmaker, but people tell you it's hard to break into Hollywood, and so I thought, well, okay, well, I'll just get into like marketing or something, So I was a terrible student. So I applied to a whole bunch of colleges. BU was one of them, and that was sort of like my reach school, Boston University.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, one of my friends who was much more, academically astute than me. He said, he goes, oh, where are you applying at? I mentioned BU. He goes, you're not going to get into BU. Like, what a dick. Sorry, excuse my language.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, and like, whatever. I didn't care,
Thing to say, though. I mean, you didn't have to say that.
He was right. I mean, like, I didn't get in. I was a terrible student. I really was. But what happened was, what's interesting is that I ended up going to Suffolk for 2 years for marketing. And then I'm like, you know what? I was in a marketing class, and the teacher goes to me, he goes, let me tell you something. You're going to be competing with everyone sitting next to you. And I was still a terrible student. And I'm thinking, I can't compete with these people in marketing. I just don't have it. And then I read up on schools. There were these certificate schools to do filmmaking, right? And you go for 9 months. And so I ended up going to a school that was 9 months. It was like 40 hours a week. And when you got out, you could rent equipment and you could start making money.
Right.
So boom, I started a business. Like, it was like 9 months in and out, and I'm not, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So it was like $25,000, which like was pretty good, especially for that. I could start a business right away. And ironically, that school was a sister school of Boston University. So like, I technically got into Boston University. So, and that's like where so it's just funny how, maybe one door closes, but something else will open. And,
right.
Like, if you play by those rules, if you say, you know what, I'm not good enough, I can't do this. Or the only path to X, Y, and Z is to like do marketing instead of filmmaking. You're limiting yourself. You're in all that fear. You're taking just this major detour to where you're supposed to be. Yeah. I'm hoping that people just like, even if your content is crap, like you make it, and then maybe we have a community, and maybe I can run some ideas by you. You tell me what you think. Mm-hmm. It's like, maybe we have a way for people to give like honest feedback, and we just say, don't be a jerk. Like, how could we improve on this? And then someone says, hey, you know what, your sound's not that good. I know a way to do it. And we start learning from one another. And that way we all grow together. And I think, I don't know, I'm just excited. I really can't wait for this to kind of kick off.
I'm excited for you. I'm so glad you got to come over and
thank you.
And talking all the way to Boston, Mass. Oh, you're not in Boston. What part of Massachusetts?
I'm like outside of Boston, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Ready, yeah.
I haven't been on the East Coast in so long. I lived in Connecticut for 3 years. And yeah, I was depressed. Well, in Connecticut, they're very like, if you haven't been there for 20 years, you're not one of them. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're very cliquish like that. And I was depressed. Well, I was pregnant. I was always depressed when I was pregnant. I'm not one of those joyful pregnant women. I was I hated women like that. The ones that say, oh yes, they just glow. I never glowed. I never glowed while I was pregnant. I was like a ravenous dog. You get between me and my food, you're hand's probably going to get bit off. But that was kind of a sad time in my life. But yeah, I had to leave. But I did like New York, and it's changed, I've heard. But that was over 30 years ago. That was over.
I always hated New York. I was never a fan. No offense to anyone in New
I
York.
used to like it, but now it's so different. I didn't know what politics was in New York. People just were people. I didn't know that. Now we got to know everything about everybody. I liked movies better when I didn't know what they thought.
I know. Oh.
I know. Wasn't that nice?
Like,
I can't look at Goodfellas anymore because I'm looking at Robert De Niro different.
Yeah.
You know.
I loved Robert De Niro. Like, you broke my heart, De Niro. Like, we loved you. All the Italians, we loved you. You like, he's breaking, like, you're breaking our hearts. I loved him. Like, that's what Hollywood's doing. Is like, you're breaking my heart. I loved you. That's why I went over to a love letter that I loved Hollywood. I loved the Oscars. I used to watch the Oscars every year. And
I used to cry at the Oscars.
Yeah, I used to dream about being there. I would think about my speech, and I'd say, like, I'm going to encourage everyone to, like, you can be here. If I was watching the Oscars today, and I had, like, my whole speech. I loved the Oscars. Yeah. The Oscars is trash now. It's gone. Like, it's dead. It's absolutely dead. It's never coming back.
They're ruining their own art. They're ruining their own art.
And they're racist to boot. Like, they're like literally basing it on race. What's the matter with you? How do you not see
Everything is totally about race. We got to have a token black. We got to have an Asian person. We got to have this. We got to have, the thing is, and it's totally unrealistic what they're thinking. They're thinking the whole country is like this microcosm of Hollywood and New York, and it's totally not. In fact, Black people are only 13% of the population.
Right.
So, but they feel like half the people have to be Black on everything. That's not a real representation of this country, really. If we're 13% and CNN's got like 90% Black people on it, that's not a realistic representation.
Well, it's funny how it's like, I don't even... And this is the problem. They really have us trained. They have us trained. Because I was going to say, I know I'm white, and so I don't, maybe I can't relate. But it's like, I really don't know. I don't notice. I notice that they're Black. Of course I do. But, like, I don't think, like, okay, how many Black people are there? And it's like, it's funny how, like, man, that's how you live your life. Like, you're watching, like, you're looking at the boards of different companies and saying, like, there must be one woman in there. There must be... Like, what a curse. What a curse you're living through.
That's the worst part is that, okay, like Biden says, I have to have a woman of color on this job, whatever job. Kamala Harris, gotta have, I mean, she could have been the village idiot, but because she's a Black woman, she fit the bill. And that's not the way to run a country or a business. You have to do it by the best person. If that best person, no matter what their color is, 10 years ago, I was at a dinner party, my husband and I, and the subject went to politics, and everybody was being they were very, very, we were all being politically correct because we weren't sure at the time who was on what side of what, you know what I mean? And I said, because I was the only person with a tan there, and I said, they're really just coming after the white dudes. You know that, don't you? And they're like, I said, well, that's the ultimate enemy for the left, is they're going to come for you eventually. Yeah. And that is really, to me, that tells you everything about how I think it's evil. I think it's evil to pigeonhole everybody and but they really are. My husband's a white dude. I've heard people talk to him, Black people talk to him and talk about him like a dog.
Oh, really?
I'm not kidding. And it's really ridiculous because he's a good person and like a dog. And just because he's white, and I'm talking about Black people who did this. And, but we get a pass. You see, Black people get a pass. If you say racist stuff like Joy Reid does, you get a pass. And it's so not right. Yeah. None of it's right.
There's a guy, Stu from, Glenn Beck's all there. he always goes like, all you gotta do is just you plug, take the white out and plug black into it, like the white guy, and plug black into it, and like you're gonna see how racist it is. Like, like they say, oh, like there's a show called Dear White People, which I just resent the name. I've never watched a frame of it, but like I just resent the name. It's like but I'm not gonna go
It's
storm the
totally
gates and shut
racist.
it down.
I watched it.
Yeah.
It was totally racist. See, the thing is, they've lost the definition of. They've been redefining words. I mean, they've lost the actual definition of what racism is. And when you make decisions based on someone's color, that's really what racism is. And so that is what, if it's going to come back to bite you, it doesn't always, they think that because they're accommodating, and I don't need any favors from anybody. I don't need anybody to treat me special because I'm Black. I don't need that from anybody. In fact, I find it condescending.
Yeah,
and
that's condescending.
it's very condescending, like, oh, this whole thing about voter ID because of racism. Serious?
That's the most wild one. That's so it's so cringy. Like, hello, don't you see? They think you're too stupid to get an ID.
Exactly. And I can't believe that Black people aren't up in arms like, how dare you say that?
Yeah, it's like, it's so insulting. It's sick. The soft bigotry of low expectations that they call it.
Exactly. And I've lived with that. And now to this point, and I've had people explain it to me, white liberals explain the whole thing to me. And they, Kathy, you don't understand what systemic racism is. Really? You're going to tell me that I'm a 58-year-old Black woman. You're going to tell me I have no idea. You know what systemic? It's not systemic, for one thing. And that's a myth. And the next thing they'll tell me, because I've been a debater, is, oh, so you're saying racism doesn't exist? I'm like, no, I didn't go there.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's just not systemic.
Right.
Like they're saying, because basically we are the system. So if we're the system, I've gone to court with people, and I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, it's either the judge is a woman, Asian, Black. I've seen, maybe it's been rare that I've seen a white dude as the judge.
Yeah.
Lawyers are Black. Everybody's of some ethnicity. So basically, if you're saying it's systemic and we are the system, then they're saying everybody's a racist. Well, then now we're at the critical race theory thing. Oh my gosh. So it's fabricated. It's not real. There are people who are idiots out there. There will always be somebody who's an idiot. You know what I mean? Like that guy who shot those people the other day at the spas.
What was that?
Oh my gosh. In Atlanta, Georgia, this guy went into these spas and apparently shot 8 people. Yeah. And I guess I'm the only person on the planet that didn't know that. I thought they were really spas. Apparently they're whorehouses. I didn't know. God. And 8 Asian people. And the first thing the news people jumped on was, we had to see if it was racially motivated.
Oh, okay.
People
so this
died.
is yeah.
And they go there first. It turns out they say the guy had some sort of sick sex addiction or something. But I'm like, so you mean to I'm sitting here going, and in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, it's really tragic about those people, but so they're whorehouses?
Yeah.
I didn't even know.
No one wants to talk about this.
I didn't even know. I was asking my husband, I said, so are all of those small places whorehouses?
Well, even that's an interesting thing. It's like, meanwhile, there's like, there appears to be this like sex trade going on around the country.
Yes.
And people are getting kidnapped. I remember as a kid, I was like, I grew up in the 90s. I was terrified. Do you remember the music video called, it was like Runaway Train? Do you remember that song?
Runaway Train.
It goes like, runaway train, never coming back. Do you remember? I think it was called from a band called Soul Asylum. Look up the video when you get a chance.
Okay.
The Runaway Train. The video was literally just a bunch of scenes. They showed a bunch of headshots of kids who were kidnapped. And then they showed like different scenes of kids being kidnapped. And I grew up and I saw this, and so I was like terrified of being kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because nothing's funny about it, but I guess it's interesting how, like, then I grew up and I wasn't afraid of it. And then I'm like, well, who's going to kidnap like a big fat kid, And so But then what happens is now it's all of a sudden like I'm seeing that there's these, I learned of like Operation Underground Railroad, who, they go out and they literally free people from sex slavery all around around the world.
Yeah.
But not only that, it's happening domestically. And I'm thinking, what? And then my brother was telling me he's in Virginia, and he was telling me he's hearing all these stories of where people are getting snatched up in Virginia, like young kids, like
300,000. I heard kids went missing in 1 year. That's
oh my gosh,
that's like every neighborhood lost a kid. You know what I mean?
We're going wild about coronavirus, but like this is.
They said that the industry for I hate to even say the words, child sex trafficking has gotten so big it's going to be bigger than drugs of an industry. That's sick, and it's worldwide. It's worldwide, and these kids coming over the border unaccompanied. What do you think is going to happen to them?
Yeah, it's like I just think. I don't know. A part of me wants to say, "Hey, follow the money." I wonder, but even beyond that, it's like, why are we fighting each other when like there's all this like mayhem, like the deepest, darkest, most awful thing is happening in this country. Like, why are we allowing that? Why is there? Why are we fighting
us talking
over
about race? They don't want us talking about the important stuff. That's
right.
the important stuff. Protecting the children. That's the important stuff. I didn't even know these kind of people existed.
Yeah, I didn't.
That would do that. And I've been watching, with the shutdown, I watched a lot of movies and documentaries, and apparently it's worldwide. It's very, very prevalent. And we have slavery in this country. And I'm sitting here thinking, gosh, so I better not hear one more Democrat talk about reparations for slavery.
Yeah,
and they just open the borders, open the floodgates for this kind of evil in this country. 95% of all illicit drugs, including fentanyl and crystal meth, come through that southern border. So why do they want that open?
And everyone knows someone who's like died from fentanyl, from drug overdose. I mean, like everyone, it's like as prevalent as cancer. It's, everyone knows someone who's died or been affected by cancer. Everyone knows someone at this point who's died or been affected by overdose and fentanyl. Like, hello, can't we get? And I gotta tell you, like I don't know. I'm seeing more people terrified of being called and seen and appear racist than I am seeing of like racist incidents. And so it's just so fascinating. That's like all of our focus and attention is on this racism problem and on this like transphobic problem. It's like I don't care if you're trans or whatever. I don't agree with people's solutions, but I just don't care. I care about you, whatever. But like, this is a huge problem. This is actually killing people. This is slavery. Putting kids through torture.
People are enslaved to drugs. People are enslaved to drugs. This is pure slavery. And it's, so you better get your reparations ready for all these kids.
Right. And I wonder,
that's what the real problem is. Nobody today deserves an extra check for any doggone thing. We have elected this country, this racist country, elected a black president twice. I didn't vote for him, but this country did that. That happened here. So that wouldn't have happened if this country is as bad as they thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's black politicians all over the country. It's not even it's just not even it's I don't know. It's not even really a thing. It's like they're like, is this guy good or is he bad? Like, does he work for me or does he not? It really
does he care about my issues? That's the thing. Do we have the same issues? I'm very concerned about I'm a pro-life person, and I'm very concerned about abortion. And so when someone talks to me, usually I don't talk to too many liberals that much anymore, but when they talk to me about, but you can't just be a single issue person, I'm like, the hell I can't. Yes, I can. If life doesn't mean anything, then nothing means anything.
Yeah.
If life is, why do you think we have these mass shootings? because life is meaningless to those people.
It's my wife's pregnant right now with our first kid.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
thank you. Which I'm like, man, this is quite a time for me to start opening my mouth, but whatever. But you know, and it really, and this is what I don't understand is like, I don't understand how you can, because a lot of people who I know who are like ride or die pro-choice,
Hmm.
Have kids or are pregnant, and I'm thinking like, I just don't understand. Like when you look at your ultrasound and you see the heartbeat and you see them moving like a human being, like it's clear.
It is a human being.
It's as clear as day. Like, that's what's. I actually didn't know how clear. I was like, yeah, they're a human. Like I always just believed that, but like, I didn't know how clear it is. I mean, this was at like 10 weeks. I saw my son moving, like, and I saw him like, and he's in there. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he's just in there right now, and it's so fascinating to me that that you can just like kind of wall it off and say no, we can kill that thing. That's like so strange to me. And
It's foreign to my concept. It's foreign. I find that because I've had 4 babies, and I remember I lost my first pregnancy, which was devastating. I still think about it. And but then, because that was a baby, I had a mass said for my baby. But after that, I was hardcore pro-life because I lost a child. I didn't lose a thing.
Right, exactly.
It was my child. And so that to me, so I guess they want to talk about science when it comes to everything except stuff they want to keep on their wish list.
Right.
It's all about the science and climate change. It's all about the science, but it's not about the science when you can see the baby and baby has fingers and feet and heart and a soul.
Yeah.
It's not about the science then. Oh, and it's not about the science when you have 51 genders. It's not about the science. They pick and choose when it's about the science.
So this is where I'm struggling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I wonder, like, how do like, I'm a conservative, you're a conservative. Like, I know liberals, I love them. They're good people. Like that, I don't think that I think the majority of like true, liberal people, like it's just that they're like, it's hard to take yourself away from like what you know. You know what I mean? Like if you've, and some folks have like made, I used to be kind of like apathetic about abortion when I was like younger, and I was like
So was I. I was actually pro-choice. I was.
Oh wow, yeah.
It changed I changed my mind, and it had nothing to do with my mind. Sometimes the truth is the truth, whether you believe it or not. Because I didn't believe it, and then once I knew, I couldn't. You can't go back from that. After you see that child, you just can't go back to that frame of thought. And my sister used to cry when I would bring up being pro-choice, and I so regret that now. But yeah, I just didn't know. I really didn't.
And and you think some folks have had, they've had abortions, and I'm sure that it's tough to one day realize or see or like concede to the argument that this is a life. Mm-hmm. And I really I feel for those people. Like that's rough. You know what I mean? That's like a rough thing to go through. And this is where it's like, I want, this is where I want freedom, creativity to go, is like, I want it to be a place where it's like, hey, just come on in, like just leave that stuff at the door, mm-hmm. Come on in. And my challenge is sort of, what's the message? What's the goal? It's like, I want to say, save our culture. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And yet there's a lot of folks who subscribe to like that culture. And I actually have no interest in like eliminating or killing off Hollywood. I just want to say, go do that. We're going to just like ignore you, Mm-hmm. And I just wonder, like, how do I open the door to everyone, and
that's
like,
a dilemma, because you can open the door to everyone.
Right.
And I think the only way we're going to make change, true change, is by being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Being authentic. If each of us, individually and collectively, if we're just who we really are, if we're like, like my art, I mean, the fear is keeping us from being who we really are and who we
Right.
ought to be,
Yeah.
So, but that you can invite everyone to the table and be on guard a little bit, because sometimes if what they're into is just so evil that you can't sit next to them at the table, then you got to draw a line there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When it's talking about life and death and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't I'm not an advocate for gay people, although I had a very close gay friend die a couple of years ago. But that was just his sin. And, he didn't abandon me because of my sin. So, but yeah, he died, and it broke my heart. But and I still think about him. I'm still mad at him for dying, actually. But the thing is, I will never go and say, "Oh, you should do this. You should do that."
It's not. Yeah.
Because he's a human being too.
Yeah.
And I loved him. So yeah, to me, I don't draw a line there, because I'm not going to not love people because of something they believe. I'm not going to just not love them as a human being, but I might not like them. There's a lot of people I just don't like, which is a whole different thing. Loving them.
You don't have to agree. You You can love someone without agreeing with them and being the same person.
In fact, it's more loving to love somebody that you disagree with.
Yeah,
what I mean?
True. In a sense, that is the antithesis of the left, is to like love someone in spite of the differences. It's like the left it's so strange, because it's like you claim the words like diversity and inclusion, and you're literally like actually enforcing conformity and like just being like, nope, you got to be this like, and if you fall outside, you're out. And
you're out, canceled.
You're out, dead, canceled. I mean, it's so funny. It's like I think of it's like you think of Stalin. Stalin used to edit people out of photos, and they're doing that now. They're starting to do that. That's crazy.
It's gotten really nutty. I don't know what's going to happen that's going to shake us into some sense, because it's just gotten totally, come on, Aunt Jemima and all this stuff. That's craziness.
That was wild. That blew my mind.
Yeah, everything, Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Just let it go. Nobody was offended by, but I was thinking, maybe we should just say, but Mr. Potato Head was brown. So,
yeah,
he fits. So I don't know.
Isn't it funny? Yeah, Mr. Potato Head has no like race. Like no one's ever thinking about. I'm wondering when that's going to come up. I'm sure.
Oh gosh! Oh my gosh! Well, I think that we've got to stop it. We've got to do something proactive, like what you're doing, to stop this roller coaster. It is going down, 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 and the canceling, and it's gone too far, and everybody knows it. So,
absolutely.
And the sadness is I have a feeling something bad will happen that will shake everybody in some sense. And I don't want to see it happen. I don't want to see something like that happen, but it makes me think of 9/11. Remember how bad that was?
Yeah.
But we were all American after that.
Yeah, there's people talk about like 9/12, like that was in a sense, in a sad, strange way, it was like a beautiful day where like America was united, like.
Yeah.
And it's I think people can unite around art and culture, and that's what I think. It's like something, when you go to like I've gone to like Comic-Con or whatever, like just to check, in Rhode Island, and you go there and it's just a bunch of nerds. Like we're all nerds. We're just like I just always like Batman. Like you go and it's just a bunch of nerds. And no one's like making fun of one another. No one's like, everyone's like, there's some like geeky people there that you like, that normally we like, if you saw them in the street, you'd be like, oh my God, look at that dweeb. But when you're there, you're a dweeb.
Both my sons are nerds.
Yeah.
They love that Comic-Con stuff.
Yeah. And it's so funny how culture can bring people together. I went to I went to the TD Bank North. I went to a huge concert for like the Game of Thrones soundtrack. So it's a bunch of nerds in a room listening to like classical music. But because it was part of this show, we were all like, yeah, that's the theme song for like the little girl. Cool. Like, it really bridges all divides. So that's why I feel like it's, culture. I think culture really is the way to go. And we don't have to be combative. Let's just make good content.
Yes.
And like I don't know, why isn't there a rom-com about, this is the idea that anyone who wants to write this, like I'll get in on it and we'll write it together, is like, why isn't there a rom-com where like the Romeo and Juliet story where it's like a two people fall in love and then they find out like a week later that one of them's a Democrat, one of them's a Republican. Like,
oh, that would be a cool story.
Yeah, it's like, but why hasn't that happened? I don't understand. Like, that's so obvious to me. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, I was on this one group for people who were victims of narcissism, and so they're really serious, and they're all complaining about usually spouses, which is why I got out of that, because my spouse is not a narcissist. But anyways, they were complaining about, oh, did your narcissist do this and da da da, and then this one lady. Now it's not supposed to be political, but this one lady, she goes, I don't know what happened. He just changed. I don't know how did I not see this? How did I know this? And I don't know if I can live with this. And I said, what, did you find out he was a Democrat? And then of course the administration says, no, we don't have to talk about politics on this group, in this group. I'm like, I'm out, because I was just being funny. I was just thinking.
Yeah, it's like, it's a funny joke, but it got all touchy. Like everyone's really up in arms about it.
Do you know, I got one time I was on 24-hour ban, or 32, I forget how many hours from Facebook. I made a meme that said, have you ever walked into a room and then forgot what you walked in there for, and had to go back to the other room to remember? I said, don't worry, you were just having a Biden moment. And he's running for president. That's what well, they X'd it, and they told me they said that I couldn't post anything for 24 hours for that joke.
It's so weird because, like, we sound crazy. Like, if you're like on that side, it's like you're not seeing this, that people are being banned. You're not seeing it. It doesn't happen to you. All your posts don't have this little mark on it. Actually, that's missing context. Oh, like that's actually not true. Like he said or it's like all these like weird fact check crap. Like it's all, the fact check is so BS.
It's totally BS.
But not. I don't think they are getting that kind of stuff. Like no one they know is being banned. You know what I mean? Actually, I've seen a few Democrats who get banned. I'm surprised, but
wow,
it's not. I actually don't even know what they posted, but we're seeing it on such a rampant basis that it's like, and we end up sounding like freaks. We're like, well, I'm being banned. They're all against us. We sound like we're conspiracy theorists, and then they just go, and they can just laugh us off, wave us off. And, that's why it's like we really had to move out. We had to move out. We had to pack our bags and get out. Like,
yes, I'm out. And then that's what you'll find. I hope my friends are watching, because I think you should do more shows, because I think that the people, your audience, that's your tribe. Right now we're all being treated like misbehaving Negroes. We are, right. All of us. Back in those days that they keep referring to, the slave days, when the black person, got off the plantation and went off and started and learned to read and stuff like that. And They were like, oh my gosh, they were whipped and brought back into the plantation. Well, guess what? That's what they're treating all Americans who voted the other way.
Right.
They're treating us all like we're all misbehaving Negroes.
I had a friend. I had these friends at my house. We were like throwing them a party, and one of us just like, we started like having a discussion. It was actually a really great discussion. He's far on the left, and I'm pretty right. You know what I mean? and we were having a discussion about like the environment, and I was just asking him questions. A lot of it was me asking him questions. I'm like, okay, so why are you so panicked about the environment? Tell me, and like, what do you think the solutions are? You know, and even I had, and it actually inspired me to read that book. Apocalypse Never from Michael Schellenberg. It's a really interesting book about how like really nuclear is like the way to go. It's actually a beautiful like resource. But anyway, so we had this great conversation for like hours, like 2 hours. We were at peaceful. It was barely a debate. I was just like, we were bouncing questions off of one another. So then I go, okay, so I go, oh, who do you like in like the Democrat, this is the primaries for the presidency. I go, who do you like? He goes, well, I really like Elizabeth Warren. I just think she's so smart and all this. And I said, well, I don't like this idea of people wanting to tax me 60% because like, I don't want to give money to someone. Like, I don't like Elizabeth Warren, so I don't want to give money to her. So I started to say, I go, for example, like, I really like Trump. And what I was going to say was, I really like Trump, but you probably hate his guts. Like, do you want to work 60% of your week to like give him your money to, then,
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's like, no, you don't want to do that. I don't want to do the same for Elizabeth Warren. So like, I don't think being taxed by people who you like really don't agree with, who don't represent you.
And they're not going to spend your money the way you would want them to spend it.
Right.
If you're giving them a check, basically with your vote, you're saying, here, you're going to take some of my money and you told me how you're going to spend it. Joe Biden told us he was going to give free health care to illegal immigration people. Yeah. And so he told us that. I don't want to do that because I have to pay for my health care. So I'm just thinking, I don't want to pay for somebody else.
People would be fired. They'd be fired if they worked anywhere else. If we got the chance to hire them, we would fire them immediately. They suck with money. They don't know what they're doing. But anyway, so I didn't get that far though. All I said was like, for example, I really like Trump. Boom, gone. The conversation over. And I'm like, wait, but isn't it obvious that I like Trump? Like, don't you know? Like, isn't it obvious? Because I'm pretty quiet about it. He goes, yeah, but I never heard you say it. I go, well, yeah, big deal.
But the name Trump just triggered him, kind of, huh?
Yeah, so I got to a point, I got really upset, and I'm like, look, these are conversations over. And I go, I just need to understand why. Like, why is the conversation over? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
Right.
I bring up Trump, and you just like end the conversation. It's just over. We've been talking for hours. It's over. Like, now you just end it?
Yeah.
And he goes, you saying... And so he's gay. So like, but whatever. It's like, see how much it doesn't matter, but he's gay. And so what happens, he goes, because you like Trump, it's like you're in the KKK. Like, it's like I'm black and you're in the KKK. And I go, but how? I said, tell me how Trump is like trying to affect your rights. Like, give me one example, please.
Right.
And they said something about like not letting trans people into the military. I'm thinking, well, are you trans? You know what I mean? So I didn't even know, it's like, so I said to them, I challenge you, like, send me information. I'd love to know if he really is like going against you guys getting married. Like, I don't really, I don't care one way or another if people get married. It's like between them and God and between it doesn't matter. I just want them to be happy. That's all I want.
Yeah.
So like, they're actually getting married. I'm excited for them. You know what I mean? But it's like, but with this situation, I said to them, send me the things I want to know. Like, is he out to get you? Is he? Because I've never heard that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And, of course I never heard anything, and it's awkward, and it's been awkward ever since. And it's just,
I experienced that. I've had friends experience that.
I
wrote about it in one of my, I wrote about it a while back because basically I don't know if I had a word for it when I wrote about it, but it was a change that comes over these people's faces when you say the word, like they'll be smiling and you're talking. I mean, we're at the church picnic type thing, we're smiling and everybody's talking, and all of a sudden you say the word Trump and their face completely changes.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's wild. It changes, doesn't it? And then you go, oh my gosh, what happened? It's like a possession or something. It looks like, because the face changes. And I don't get that. I mean,
do you feel like it's ever happened to you? Like, do you feel like you've ever been? I had to admit, I felt like upset before. I felt like almost to that brink before, and I really had to catch it and go, "You're getting too far into this, right, Tim." Like, cool it. You know what I mean? But like, do you ever feel like that's happened to you where someone's like expresses the other opinion and you're getting like that riled up? Do you feel like that's happened to you?
No,
Yeah.
honestly, no. I don't care that Democrats exist. I mean,
Yeah,
they
I
can be,
don't. Yeah.
they could be neighbors, friends, whatever. And most of my family are Democrats, to
Oh,
be honest. So, and I still speak to them,
yeah.
but they don't. It's not reciprocated in the opposite way socially. It's not reciprocated. Like, I'm okay if you're a Democrat, but it's not okay for me to like Trump. So I'm starting to see that now that they've won, even though I don't believe they did it honestly, but they'll take the win however they got it. But they they haven't changed. It's still all about Trump.
Yeah.
It still is. I mean, he still takes rental space in Joy Behar's, in her head all day long. It's Trump, Trump, Trump all
It's
day
fun.
long.
It's like so fun. It's so fun to watch. It's kind of fun.
I used to time it. I would turn on the View and I say, how many seconds before they say Trump, just to see how many seconds.
Yeah.
And Whoopi Goldberg, 6 seconds.
Oh wow.
6 seconds. And Sunny Hostin, usually between 5 and 10 seconds. Joy Behar, 3 seconds usually.
Oh
Really
wow.
quick.
Jeez.
Everything goes back around to Trump. No matter what you say, everything goes back around to Trump in her head. And so, and I was writing to them online, and I've been blocked a few by Sunny and Joy. I just say, well, don't go telling people that you're Catholic and you're still promoting abortion. Don't say it, because
Right.
you're making yourself look like a liar.
Yeah.
Because anyways, but they're obsessed, and I don't know what they will do. I don't think that show's going to last a year with Biden. Their love fest is,
all the late night shows, like they had their only material was Trump, and it wasn't funny.
It wasn't.
And now they have to come up with material, and they're not
scared
allowed to
make
criticize
fun of, they don't criticize Biden, right?
They're not allowed to.
Oh gosh, he looks like he's walking around lost in a mall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He walks around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's so much material. I don't understand why they don't make fun.
I know there's so much material, and it's so interesting. It's like, I don't know. That's another thing. It's like with comedy. It's like I think there's a wide open space for comedy. You just scroll through these things. Yeah, you scroll through these things. I've never seen so much like funny. Like America is filled with hilarious people. And I'm thinking, okay, all we do though is we put it on social media and we like put it on and it gets passed around, and that's nice and that's great. But I'm thinking like, well, let's produce like a show. Let's produce. Yeah. I'm actually talking to. I'm hoping to talk to him. I don't know. Maybe I scared him off, but I'm trying to talk to Michael Loftus. Have you ever heard of Michael Loftus? He has a great show. I've got to recommend this to anyone listening.
Okay.
Called The Loftus Party. Okay. And he's been onto this whole like concept of changing the culture for like the longest time. So he even has his website, theloftusparty.com, where they talk about culture and all this. Mm-hmm. And his whole bit is like, look, let's be fun. Let's be like the fun side of conservatism. Like we don't need to be so stuck up in like, red ties and all this. Yes. We don't need to be that. And he's a stand-up comedian. He's very funny.
I love comedy.
Oh yeah, check out Michael Loftus. He's really funny. Will. And so I wrote to him and I was telling him like, hey, I could use your advice. I want to start like an SNL kind of knockoff. And so we'll see what happens. I don't know.
It would be so fun. I mean, I think if I can make fun of myself. I laugh at myself all the time. That's why I'm never bored. I'm never.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think the left is capable of making fun of themselves anymore. You know what I mean? They have to make fun of the other guy. It has to be the other person. But
they'll make fun of themselves, but they'll be like, "But we're right. Like I swear we're right." It's like, okay, you can just tell a joke. We're all like, "Well, I'll move on."
Well, I haven't laughed at one of those shows in forever, and so I don't even watch anymore. I'm like, gosh, what happened to like Johnny Carson? I used to stay up to watch Johnny Carson eat Haagen-Dazs ice cream and Chessman cookies, and that was my thing. And it was so funny, and I just sit there and laugh, and then I go to sleep. It's like, but I don't have anybody to do that now. I did see a guy named Colin something. He was Red State, Blue State. It was on Netflix, I think. He was funny, and he was making fun of the whole thing.
Yeah, they should like even like the right is just as ridiculous as the left in a lot
Oh
of
yeah, I
ways.
can make fun of our side too.
Yeah, the whole like I saw one really funny. The joke that keeps getting me is just wait and see, like wait and see, you'll see.
Oh
Like
yeah,
with like after the
plan.
election, yeah, the plan, like and like it's funny. Like it is like I love that. Like that bit's so funny to me.
Well, there are a lot. There are some people on the right that do make me laugh a lot because I mean,
Yeah.
because like there's some conspiracy theories that are just so far out there that no way. But then again, there's some that came true.
Right, that's the funny. Yeah, it's like oh my god. And even yeah, it's like we're so. I always think of one funny bit. I always think about is how Larry Elder. You're listening to Larry
Yes,
Elder.
yeah, like him.
He like the way he like just jumps down people's throats. It's so funny because he has those statistics like locked down on
Yes,
his
how does
brain.
he do that?
And I was listening to an interview with him the other day, and someone was challenging him on something, I don't know what, but he just reams into people. And I was just trying to imagine imagine if someone said like, you ate too many cookies out of the cookie jar, and him just like, well, actually the number of cookies was, and I just think about like, oh my God, he's such a funny character, he's so sharp. I'd love to like.
I would feel like a mental midget next to him, though. You know what I mean?
Oh, I couldn't handle it.
I mean, could you keep up? I mean, I couldn't keep up. I love when I get to talk with somebody like that's like super more intelligent than I am. And I'm pretty doggone. I'm just kidding, but really, I love that because I glean. I feel like it's unfair because I'm learning so much. And I
feel like you're taking from. Oh yeah.
Yes, I like right now. Most of my friendships are people, and that's another thing that's changed. You'll see. You're 33, 34 now.
33, yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's like the age of Jesus. So 33. Yeah. So that you'll find as you get older and you start losing patience for stupidity. Just people just being ridiculous and drama queens and things like that. You just don't have time for it anymore. But I find that I tend to I'm the magnet to people who are more intelligent than I am.
Right.
And I always thought, wow, I love that because things that it takes a lot to impress me. I've been a lot of places, I've done a lot of things. So when I see somebody that is really like up there, like my best friend right now, she's super, super smart. And I feel like every time I sit and talk with her, I learn so much. I'm like, wow, I didn't know. And I feel like it's unfair because I mean, what am I offering? What did I bring to the table? So hopefully I try to be a little funny.
You're fantastic. I love chatting with you.
But you'll see, especially once your child comes around, you'll be more picky around about who you're around than before. Because before your children, I mean, I had some crazy friends, you know what I mean? I don't even know if they're alive still. There's just, the things that you do when you're young, and I was young and stupid. I mean, we all were. Thank God there was no social media then. I would might be in jail, you know what I mean? Just oh my gosh. But that's how it's going to be for these kids if we don't do something, because every little stupid thing that they say or do is going to haunt them for the rest of their life because of people, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a word. When people who make your life their business, busybodies, they get into other people's business constantly, all day long, day in and day out, and they're suffocating. But those people will always be out there. There will always be, those kind of people, and they will go look for stuff and looking for problems and looking for something that you did or something you didn't do or whatever. And these young people now who are just as stupid as I was, if not more, they're going to do stuff, and these people they're never going to outlive a lot of this stuff.
They'll never get out of it. And we at least even like, I know I've like narrowly escaped it. I'm realizing now that 15 years ago when I was in like high school, that they were teaching critical race theory back then in 2005. I'm realizing now, only because even at the time I said I was like a really poor student, but like it's wild. Like I really I'm seeing like, oh my gosh, they were teaching this 15 years ago. They've been at this for a while. And
that's where the fear comes from. That's the indoctrination.
yeah.
And I know teachers who are conservative who are thinking of quitting right now as we speak, their career, their life's work, because they're conservative. They can't even tolerate it. And they're afraid all the time of opening their mouth and saying what they really think.
Right.
And they're conservative and they care about those kids. And our kids need those kinds of teachers, but they're going to quit. They're leaving that field because of this nonsense.
And you have to think every lesson you've ever learned from life was like the ones that really hit you were the ones like from struggle, from like challenges, from like hardships. And that's the issue with conservative teachers. Like they're not able to, I mean, I don't think you should bring any politics in this school. It should be like X, Y, and Z. It really should. But I think that like, these conservative teachers challenging these ideas, like that would help people grow. That would at least, even if like, let's just say we're wrong, you and I are wrong, that would at least solidify these people in their beliefs. It would give them confidence in their beliefs. That's why I always think it's funny how no one, and I suck at debate. I'm terrible at debate, but these people will, like, no one will ever want to like get into it with me about like politics because like, I don't know, they just shut me down. They go, you're like, oh my God, you're just one of them Trumpians. Like, you're probably racist, blah, blah, blah. It's like, they never want to debate because like, I don't know. I assume they're like, my footing is strong. I believe what I believe.
It's because they're not good at debate. It has nothing to do with you not be. They will shut you down with the word racist or some other kind of word, a name.
Close-minded or yeah.
With me, they'll say, "Oh, so you're saying there's no racism?" I'm like, "That's not what I'm saying." But they have words, tag words that they will use to shut you down because they cannot argue. They cannot argue their side, and because basically you can't say on one hand, "Oh, it's all about the science when it comes to climatology," but it's not about the science when it comes to unborn babies. It's not about the science for their wish list, but it's only about the science for the stuff they really want to implement. So basically, they don't have that strong of an argument, which is why they're so scared and so terrified, because they don't have anything to back it up. It's like having dollars without the gold to back it up.
Yeah. Great. That's great. Yeah.
So that's why they won't argue with you. I've seen it. I've done debate.
Probably for the best.
That's all I did was debate. You know what I mean? And that's what I did in high school and college. And I love debate. And I'm prepared for a debate. You know, if somebody wants to, I'm happy to oblige. I like a good prepared, organized debate with a moderator, not one that just goes into the name calling and stuff like that. You want to have a legitimate debate? Let's do that. You know, let's bring in the facts. Let's have our little, back in my days, we had index cards. Yeah, and I had an index card for every argument that they might bring, and they in turn should have that too.
Well, why not bring those back? Like, that's again, it's like, I got 2 cameras. We can film a debate in the afternoon. I don't see why we can't do it. Like,
we could and should.
Yeah, we should, and we should. And like, these are the kind of things that I really want to encourage people to do. Like, that's a great idea. We should just let's do the debate. We can film it so easily. It's just you don't even have to film it. You can put it on this. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But if we film it, we make it nice. We put nice music to it. You get a moderator. You really make it like timed and respectful and all this.
Yes.
What a great show that would be. Like
everybody would watch it.
Yeah.
Everyone would watch it.
I was thinking a great reality show would be Survivor, but it would be capitalists versus communists.
Oh yeah.
And so everyone starts with the same resources, but you have to like live by those ideologies in order to survive. And then we just see what happens. And then you can vote people out or not. And so voting would be, how communists usually kill people. I'd
like to be a part of the debate show you do, because
that would be stuff we're gonna start pitching.
Yes, And it's good to find. You can find moderators. I mean, that I could be I've been a moderator before. It's not that hard, but basically, you just have to kind of rein in control of the time and all that stuff that people get to say their argument and what the questions will be, and you're trying to make it fair and even.
Yeah.
And the rules are so important because you have to set groundwork so that you're respectful and you're also not going to call names. That is the line.
Yeah.
You're not going to call names. You can't just, that's what I love about debate is because it's civility. And right now we need some civility. I mean, this yelling in the streets and rioting and looting, that's not how we come to a conclusion about anything. I think
it's true.
Healthy debate.
And you learn from the other side too. It's
yes,
like, I remember there was an interview between the guy's name was like Hawk Newsome and Candace Owens.
Mm-hmm.
And Hawk Newsome, I think, he was like one of the founders of BLM or something. So I think it was like, and, I was like, okay, I can kind of see like why this guy's this upset. Like, I know I can't understand it, all that, but like, I was like, all right, I can get it, it's like, but then, but then beyond then, BLM does all the stuff that they do, but it's like, but in that debate, even though they disagreed, because he was willing to sit and have like a civilized conversation with her, like I actually like, I respected him more than I did as like when it was just BLM, this like, awful entity that we know of, you know what I mean? So
you should try, like, also, if you find two Democrats or leftists that would like to debate, and because they're all fired up, I guess, you would think, but one thing that I learned a lot from in college was when we debated the opposite point of view of what we actually hold.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're arguing what you think their side would argue, and then they in turn do the same, and that was eye-opening.
That must be fun.
Oh God, it was like pulling a raw nerve. I mean, having those words come out of my mouth.
Yeah, that's brutal. Oh, especially in these times. Yeah.
Oh, those are fun to me. It was like a sport.
And that could just be fun to watch, just like, knowing that these people like totally disagree with what they're saying,
Well, wouldn't it be great, like if like someone like Candace Owen would debate a liberal, not the way that they've set her up before, because they've set her up a few times where, she was the only conservative and surrounded by 6 guys, one of whom stood up and put his finger in her face. And, that was not civilized. And so to me, you get somebody. I'd like to see Candace Owen debate Bill Maher.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Yeah,
wouldn't that be interesting?
Because they're both very like sharp and cutting.
I think that would be an awesome debate.
That'd be fun.
There's a lot of things you could put together like that, and it's just like it's limitless. Think about it.
Yeah, and it's like, this voice tells you in your head, you can't do that, guy. Like, they're never going to even pick up your phone call. But I'm just thinking,
you never know.
You know what? Who's like with the SNL idea, like who's Lorne Michaels? I don't know. Like, why did this guy start SNL? Do we know who he is? Was he some famous comedian before that? I have no clue. Like, how did he start SNL? I really don't know. Maybe I should look up.
SNL's going through some growing pains right now because they used to be really, really funny.
They were amazing.
They were real, and I loved their host and stuff. And then it got to be all about Trump. It's like even I was bored with Trump after watching. You know what I mean? When you watch SNL and it's all, geez.
You just want a break. You just want to take a break.
But think about Kamala Harris. I mean, they could do some funnier stuff with her. They've got a lady playing her. Oh, what was her name? Her mother was a singer. I forget. Her father was like Cheech and Chong. He was like Chong of Cheech and Chong. She's the actress on. Anyway, she plays Kamala occasionally on SNL. She's pretty good.
Oh, okay, she does like a good like impression of her.
Yeah, she's pretty good. I like that. But I think they should make fun of like those pantsuits.
Yeah, or just like the cackle, like what I mean. There's so much. Yeah.
And it's like a nervous laughter. Do you notice that?
Yeah, it's such a wild laugh.
It's an odd, like, oh, what do you think about so and so being shot? Oh my God!
Yes, that's not how you're supposed to react to it.
She has that inappropriate laughter down, and I think that
Yeah.
that would be funny to see. Six terrorists, broke into so and so. She goes, oh,
Yes. It's terrible.
but she's funny. But now, what's scarier than Biden president? Kamala Harris
Oh yeah.
president.
Oh yeah.
That's terrifying. That is terrifying. I don't know what we'll do. Gosh, will we survive the next 3 years?
I think
That's
we
all we
will.
gotta
I
do.
think we will. And you know something? I really like, and I talked to some people, some folks, saying like, I'm devastated about like the loss, of Trump losing and things like that, and losing the House and everything, and but something. Again, it's like the only time I've ever learned a lesson was when something horrible happened. It's
That's
the only
true.
time I've picked up and like got and excelled. It's the only time.
That's
And
true.
and yeah, and I think my mother used to always say, she goes, why is it that when you wake up in the morning and I tell you to make your bed nicely, you don't listen? And then I ask you again, I say, Timothy, please, can you make your bed? And then I wouldn't do it. And then she goes, Tim, I'm going to kick your ass if you don't make your bed, and you're going to be grounded for a week. Then I'd make it. She goes, why do I have to like beat you over the head before you do it?
Why couldn't you do it when I said nicely?
Right. And so, it's like, I often think, it's like people say, God, why is this bad things happening to you? It's because, sometimes God needs to slap you outside the head to say, hey, wake up. Okay. Mm-hmm. Things are falling apart. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's up to you. It's like, it's up to you. No one's going to do it for you. No one's going to like make me famous. No one's going to like publish my book and be like, Tim's great. They hate my guts. Okay. I worked really hard on that book. Mm-hmm. It's like my heart and soul has been it was like in me for years. I finally got it out. And like, I don't people out there who wrote a book, like it's hard. Like they all know it's like, it's like, it's really tough and it's terrifying. And I worked really hard on it, and I'm thinking like I can't get the only way for people to read it is like if I do it this other way, and I don't know how, but this I know is like the way, and it's the only way I can ever do like get into filmmaking and entertainment. It's this way. This is the only way and it only clicked when I saw that like the world was falling apart, and then when you realize like, oh gosh, I have no chance surviving in their world. It's just not going to happen.
So
and
I hope that pendulum to swing back the other way again, because it's way over to the left, and it's really, but that just means that when it goes right, it's probably going to go a little far over there too before it kind of levels off, don't you think?
Yeah, and we just want to like, I don't want it to be that far right. I don't like that. This is the thing. People just want to, I think another thing people can agree is like, people just want to like chill and have a good time. That's like the most part. I just want to like spend nice time with my wife, with my boy when he's born. I want to like, and I want to create things. That's all I want. I want to like eat a lot of good food, and I want to create, and I want to like, and I want to learn, and so that I can create more. That's all I want. That's all I want in life. I don't care what anyone does. I want everyone to be happy. Like, yeah, will things annoy me? Like they legalized pot. Okay. It doesn't bother me at all. I just hate that like my kid's going to grow up knowing the smell of pot like intimately because like it just drives down my street all the time. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just one of those things. It's like, but you know what? Freedom, go for it. You know what I mean? Like freedom comes with a lot of scarring. You know what I mean? But as long as people are like happy, that's all I want. And the only way to do that is like we got to cool down the temperature.
Yes.
And even us, like you can tell, and I'm sure, like I get really riled up. Like I really do. I get like riled up about politics because it just feels so infuriating. It's like, how do you not see it? How do you not see that you're being used, or how do you not see that you're being like fooled? But then we also have to think of ourselves as like, are we being fooled? There's so much stuff going on.
Have we been fooled? I mean, that's the thing. I realize certain points in my life where I was fooled.
Yeah.
And growing was learning, learning about that and
Yeah.
learning how to be a mature, grown up person. But I had to go through some stuff to get where I am here
Right.
mentally. I had to go through some shit, you know what I mean? I had to go through some shit.
And
But
how hard is that? Oof, that humble pie is pretty bitter, isn't it? It's like, oof.
Leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But I wouldn't change anything about where I am right now.
Exactly.
I really would. Although I would have started golf earlier in life.
Oh, it's the best, isn't it?
Oh, I love you golf.
Oh, yeah, I love
Oh
golf.
my gosh. I started late in life. I mean, right before my husband retired, I started and I got addicted to it. And that's my problem. I go into something, I go 100%, you know what I mean?
Right.
And everything else goes by the wayside because I'm totally immersed into it. And like for a while there, I was like playing 5 times a week, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was getting sunburned. I mean, I never sunburned before. Now I'm
Right.
sunburned, and it was just strange. But then I had to back off because I wanted to do some of my writing and my art and stuff. And then my friends are like, "You don't golf anymore," and I'm like, "Yes, I do. I still do. It's just I have to do some of this stuff now." But I miss my golf. But if I had to do anything over again, I would have started golf earlier because I would be amazing by now.
Oh, I know. I also feel like I'll never be amazing at golf, but that's okay,
Yeah. Oh, you'll have amazing moments, and that's what
Yeah.
keeps you coming back.
That's right. Yeah, that's
that
true.
one shot that you go, "Oh my God, that's a freaking amazing." You see that? Oh my God. I never cuss on the golf course, and I did this one shot. It was amazing. I mean, it was through trees,
Oh, I
made it
love
to
when
the
that.
green. It was like a long one. And they were like, "Oh my, what a great." I'm like, "Yeah." And I should have, and then my next shot, I flub it.
It's a perfect life lesson. It's like, you're going to be beaten down for the most part, but every once in a while, you
Oh,
get a little
every once
win.
in a while. Oh yeah. And you just, but that little bit,
A little bit.
that little bit just keeps me coming back. And so, no, I'm not letting anybody borrow my clubs anymore because the comeback, I'm not doing that because I'm not giving up. I just have been kind of busy. But my
Yeah.
friend just
Good.
moved back to town and our course has been open and we're going to play.
Oh,
Tony
yeah. It's the time of
McElroy,
year.
just so you know, Tony, we're going to play. So yeah, that is fun to me. I wish I'd done that earlier in life. That's another thing about, I hate to go back to the whole race thing about Trump and what he did in Mar-a-Lago. It was amazing because
Oh,
my
yeah.
father always wanted to play golf. He never got an opportunity to play golf. So he bowled, but he always said that he would have rather play golf. And so, when I came along and all of a sudden I can play anywhere, I want to, that in and of itself. I mean, Trump started that at Mar-a-Lago. He made his
Yeah, that
club
went off
unrestricted.
everywhere, right?
Yeah, and he opened it up to, I couldn't believe 1993.
That's
Most
crazy.
of the clubs didn't have blacks and Jews and Catholics, and I'm like, black and Catholic. So they
Is
didn't.
that like around the country, most of them weren't doing that? Like, or all of them were?
Not most of them were still restricted. All of the ones around his golf course, around Palm Beach area, were restricted, and people just sort of accepted that. I mean, and some didn't accept women, So
Right.
it's just it's been a life thing for the golf life. And I'm just so grateful now because I love to play, and I'm not the best player. I'm not even going to tell you my handicap because it's embarrassing. But in fact, I was at the driving range one time and this young kid was hitting these balls he was lefty. So we were facing each other and he was hitting the balls really far and straight. And I said, "What's your handicap?" He goes, "Oh, I don't have one right now." He goes, I just play. And I'm like, "Oh," I'm thinking, because he had to be great, because he was hitting so really, his swing was perfect. And he said, "What's your handicap?" And I told him, and he said, "Ooh, I didn't even know it went that high." Oh my gosh. Thanks a lot. I'm working on it though. I'm working on it.
Oh, yeah, it's the best. Like, I wish it was a little more affordable, but other than that, it's
yeah. Well,
best time.
we live on a municipal court.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's It's still pricey. It's still
Yeah.
pricey, but we put that as a part of our budget when we retired. We put
Nice.
yeah, you have to budget in what you really like. I mean,
Yeah,
find your
sure.
passion and then do that. That's what you're doing right now. You're finding your passion with your art and your creativity. And I'm a big believer in people being creative, because I think even the least creative people, I think they would all feel better just by doing some creative things
Yeah.
in their lives. I mean, it doesn't all have to be painting or drawing or something like that. There's so many ways to be artistic. Producing is very artistic. Writing, I'm a writer as well, so
No,
I
yeah.
love to write. And so those things, everybody needs to explore that, and they'll feel so much better in their lives. They'll feel like, I'm not just going to work. You can't live your life just to go to work and pay the bills, and that just can't be it. It can't. You're just going to die inside.
Yeah, and you can even be creative in whatever field you're in with work. If you treat it in a creative way, it can really expand. Like a simple job can become something even more. Like if you just inject creativity into it some way, even if it's just a different approach to like answering calls or like interacting with customers, it can make a big difference.
Yes. And I think even in plumbing, maybe you could like reinvent something. I love how people are using like old materials again.
Oh, I love that.
I love that too, because I love to see it become something else, than what it was used for. And you always think, wow, how did they think of that? And I think that's exciting to see. People who design furniture, I think that must be interesting, because I love beautiful homes and things like that. And I love designs. I love anything that has to do with colors.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One of the best things about this freedom of creativity venture is like, so I'm getting emails from all over the country. And one woman emailed me, she upcycles like toys and dolls.
Oh.
So like she'll take a doll and she'll like create new clothes for it, and she'll like dress them up and everything. She even was upcycling like McDonald's Happy Meal toys.
Oh.
I was like, this is amazing. Like, what a clever
How
idea.
does she think of stuff like that?
Isn't that like, well, like it's like obvious kind of when you hear it, like, why wouldn't you upcycle like toys? It doesn't make, like you refinish, even if you just refinish them, but like, so I just thought, wow, that's a clever, and there's just so many amazing people out there. People like you, like, right? It's so nice to meet you and chat with you.
Too.
Yeah, that's great.
I better close the show, because
I know we're gonna.
Today's a big day for me. It's a red letter day. I'm getting a new vacuum cleaner.
Oh, that's fun.
I was a housewife for 30 years, so to me, a vacuum cleaner is like, yay! This is so.
Oh
exciting.
yeah, I got so many vacuum. I like love my vacuum cleaner.
My daughter used to make fun of me because they said, "Mom, you get so excited over stuff." Like I get excited cleaning out the lint filter in the dryer. Like, that is my favorite part. My favorite part of the day is. But at least I'm never bored. I'm never bored. So.
Oh yeah.
Well, God bless you. I'm so glad you came. And
Thank you.
and you'll have to do this again. I want to keep up. So, maybe there's someone who can show me how to do the producing thing. That's
the goal. Like anything you need, you can post it and say, hey, I'm looking for, a sound engineer, a producer, a call-in specialist. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know what, but and that'll hopefully work. So I'll let you know when it launches. Yeah.
So Freedom of Creativity. So that's the website.
So if you go to freedomofcreativity.com, that's like your way. You can just email me. At least for now, I'm just taking emails and chatting with people and just like encouraging them to keep on keeping on. But within about like a week or two, I'll launch the like official website, the database, and people can join and be members. There's ways to like upgrade and you get a little more features, but like I'm gonna keep it like free to access. And it's just, and hopefully we just need to spread the word, and it'll be a great community. If we can build a great community, we'll build some great content.
Well, I'll put your website on on my blog.
Thank you.
And maybe let's see, I can think of a lot of ways to do it, but yeah, I'd love to do that. I want to help you out, and I want to see you succeed.
Thank you. Yeah, we're gonna build something great. I'm excited about it.
All right. Thank you so much. Stay in touch. You have a wonderful day. Thank you
All
for
right,
being on
you too.
CathyIsRight.com. Bye.
All right, thank you. Bye.
I'd like to thank again Tim Colomba for joining me on Cathy'sRight.com. You make sure you subscribe and push that notification button. This is a great thing. We are going to do something positive for our country. God bless young men like him. God bless him. And I hope he's very, very successful and does well in the future. We need to do our part in canceling cancel culture. This is Cathy of Cathy'sRight.com. Make sure you're subscribed. Bye.